There are five ranges of price elasticity of supply, as we have seen in price elasticity of demand. The first one being perfectly inelastic supply, unitary elastic supply, and perfectly elastic supply. Now, let's look at it one by one. The first one being perfectly inelastic supply. Perfectly inelastic supply means when quantity supplied does not change at all in response to a change in price of the commodity. Its supply then said to be perfectly inelastic. Now let's draw the supply curve for this. If price, quantity supplied, 0, it will be vertical to this diagram. It will be parallel to the y-axis. Supply curve would be something like this. So when there is a price point at P1, and even if it is increased to P2, the supply actually doesn't change. The quantity supply, I'll put it as Q1, would be the same. So this is the supply curve for perfectly inelastic supply. Now let's look at some real world example, because it is very difficult to see when the price increases, the supply does not increase at all. For this would be in the short term, we can see that agricultural products as is normally actually perfectly inelastic, at least in the short term. So even if the price is increasing, you cannot increase the production of potatoes or onions, not so fast, because farmers actually have a lifestyle, and you won't get many people going into farming back again, or farmers to acquire land immediately and try farming. It takes rather a long time. And then you can think about a parking space in shopping mall. For example, there is Majestic City, and suddenly there is huge demand for parking space, and no matter how much people demand, even there is increase in price, you cannot suddenly increase the parking space. It takes much longer time, where Majestic City has to acquire another land and then try to build up more parking space. In the long run also, there are examples for perfectly inelastic supply. For example, you can see the Mona Lisa painting by Leonardo da Vinci. Even though there is people who are ready to buy how much ever the price increases, but still there is only one paint available in the world. So even though there is a price increase, the cannot be uh, supply cannot be increased. The quantity supply cannot be increased even though there is higher price. And you can think of a cricket stadium, which there is limited seats of maybe 50,000 people. So there is a specific match coming up between Sri Lanka and India, and there's a lot of crowd going there and people are demanding it. So even though there is, prices are higher, uh, the SSC, or the cricket grounds cannot actually increase the supply of number of seats. It might take much longer time for them to build extra tiers and so on. So these are example for perfectly inelastic supply. The key point here is that the price elasticity of supply for this one would be 0. Why? Because even though the price increases, the supply does not increase. So it is actually 0 price elasticity. It is vertical to the diagram, and it is parallel to the y-axis.